So we're in URANTIA book, paper 12.6.1. Number 6 is universal overcontrol. How is everyone feeling today?
Happy to be here.
I'm
It's
so happy.
seedy. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just
So
always amazed there's only like a few of us reading these exquisite materials. And I know we have a little audience that follows some of these videos, and I just like to invite anyone is free to join in. It would be lovely to have more companions and someone supporting us with reading, um, but also no pressure whatsoever.
yeah. What did you say, Kevin, before?
I'm feeling a bit seedy, like,
Oh, CD. Oh,
seedy,
uh,
not quite, not quite right in, my head. Like if I had hangovers, not like a mild hangover, but I don't have. Uh,
hmm.
Beautiful.
Maybe it'll change. Hopefully, it'll change during the course of this.
You could read the first next sentence and you'd be already going like, hey, universe is non-static.
Oh, isn't that funny? Because I thought Alison said the universe is nostalgic.
I did say that. I said that's what I saw when I first saw it, that my reading might not be so great today.
And I didn't even notice it until Cole said non-static. I thought, what?
Yeah.
Oh
And
dear.
so is
I'm
our
in.
mind. Our mind's not supposed to be static and so logic. It's supposed to be more fluid.
Well, I prefer your version, Alison.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. Okay. I have to be careful when I say things that tongue in cheek these days because certain people take me very seriously.
Yes.
That those
Oh,
are the
yeah.
people with a very static mind. Anything that's serious, it's a static. It's a static. It's a non-moving. You know, the mind's supposed to be very flowy, and when you're smiling and you're in your right mind,
Yeah.
and when you
Well,
ooze your light like you do, Alison, you have this very beautiful ooze. Kevin has it too, but he has it today is a bad day.
Oh, look at that. That's
Yeah.
better.
we were flowing, Alison, even though you were tongue in cheek, we were very flowing.
It was. You don't know what happened, Cole, at the end of. Did you watch the last recording when you
I
had to
didn't watch
leave?
the end of it. What did you guys do?
So right at the end, so we were having a discussion about Bruno
Earthling.
burning,
Yeah.
and Kim had said something about one of the people being a little bit rigid and how you had to sit and all that kind of stuff. And right at the end, I said, right, now we're going to do meditation. And you sort of sit with your feet flat on the floor in front of you and your hands in this position and your back straight. And we're going to do a little meditation. And I was just being silly. And they did it and they went into quite a nice space. And I thought, all right, I'll join in. But I was a bit stunned. A bit of fun.
You went to that group, right?
No, no, no.
I
It was
did,
this
yeah.
group. It was this group.
Yes, but how was
Oh,
that
yeah.
group you went into?
Well, it's very, very tiny. They have one person here in Nelson who's part of the bigger organization. And someone had come from Auckland. And, it's really funny because I was sitting in the car. I could see her standing in the doorway, and I went into real full-on judgment of her. And I thought, what's going on here? This is really like, just let it go. I even did a judgment release because I can't do this. I can't go in with these thoughts. So anyway, she was lovely in actual fact, and she said, "Oh, we're going to put on some music. And I thought, oh, I often music when it's put on, it just doesn't agree with me. And oh, okay, I'll take a deep breath and just see if I can sit through it. And it was actually very, very beautiful. And she led us through a little meditation, and I was completely gone for a moment.
Beautiful.
And that's unusual for me in that
Excellent.
kind of thing. And it was really nice. Nothing,
Mhm.
nothing earth-shattering, but it was nice. So
There's so many beautiful things happening all over the place,
yeah, well, and they run meetings. They suggest you do a meeting every 3 weeks and just sit and meditate together. I
Hmm.
thought, well, why not?
Yeah.
It's another group of people, and maybe there'll be a group formed here in Nelson, and it'll be more context for me. And they were lovely people. There weren't many. There was only about six of us there altogether.
Hmm. What is the intent that matters?
Yeah,
Why are we even doing this for? Intent is
yeah,
to find the deeper meaning, the most genuine love, and just be,
yeah, yeah. So yeah, nothing earth-shattering, but very nice. And the woman who came from Auckland seemed, I mean, Bruno Gruning seems to me he was a very simple man, simple in his mind. He didn't wasn't convoluted at all. He had very simple ideas, and I don't necessarily agree with it because he'd said there are two streams of thought. One is there's good and there's evil, and
all right.
none of those are your thoughts. And I don't go along with that, but um,
That's what the Course says, Alison. Course in Miracles says that. Good thoughts and your bad
well,
thoughts, they're both sort of judgment thoughts, and
well, if you have a look at the idea of evil in the Urantia book, it's quite interesting what he says about evil. Evil is lesser than sin, and even more lesser than I don't know quite how to say that than iniquity. Iniquity, it's like this evil, which is the lower level of sin. Then there's like sort of like doing stuff basically that is not in line with God, but um because you're not because you're being unthinking about it, but it's sort of like a mistake.
Is that where did you read that?
In I've
What paper
actually
was that
I
in?
marked it. I marked it because
It was good.
it's um in the life of Jesus, paper 148,
Okay.
section 4.
Hmm. Amazing.
And yeah, so anyway, I thought, well, I'll have a look at that because this has sort of challenged my ideas again. I mean,
Hmm.
like he was talking about, because Bruno Gruning was talking about evil. My understanding of evil is that like there's truth and there's nothing. Like, yeah. Anyway, I'm a little confused about it. So anyway, I thought I'll go and have a look at what it says here
Hmm.
in the Rancher again because I found that really interesting when I read it the first time.
Mm.
So yeah.
Yes. Well,
But Thursday,
when we enter the mind realm, that we have this good and evil in there somewhere.
yeah,
And because we reject the negative, it becomes worse. It becomes evil. It becomes loveless.
yeah,
But it's mainly because it's not connected to the heart. That's the whole idea of Jesus is that, it's our own heart. It's no one else's. And we have all these examples everywhere, so many different books. But at the end of the day, Jesus is the representation of your own heart.
yeah,
And the
yeah.
real heart, not that the one thing that the mind thinks about, the one that awakens suddenly there is this whoosh, and you go, oh my God, and that quiet voice doesn't come from the head, it comes from the heart.
Mm.
And when it does, you can't think evil. You don't go to war. So the whole thing is the separation from this heart in us. And when we separate from it, we see evil because the mind does that. Mind is split. And yeah, and then comes the whole emotional intelligence, which sustains the heart. That's how I see it, more like the, the feeling realm is the sustainer of an open heart. Because we have a heart opening momentarily, and the next day we might not feel so open in our heart presence. But it usually happens because we deny a feeling in ourselves that kills the minus. It's almost like if you look at it, mind plus thought is a electric, and a feeling is magnetic, and between them is the light, is the bulb. And so if the electricity is missing, we just have this bright static, but we don't have this sustained Christ consciousness.
Mm.
Why the feeling is such an important element in this evolution or in this awakening. So yeah.
I'm a little bit caught back in what you said, Kevin. That A Course in Miracles says that. You said A Course in Miracles says that. Well, there's good and evil. Neither of them are your own thoughts, and you
Yeah,
just decide which one to.
good thoughts and bad thoughts, they're the same. It's like
And
they're still
it's a matter
judgment.
of choosing which ones to latch onto, is what he said.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean,
Mm.
is that right? Is that how you would see it? Because I,
Well, the Course in Miracles does say that, it goes like,
yeah,
if you're aware of your bad thoughts, that's good. If you're aware of your good thoughts, that's great. But those are still not your real thoughts.
right, okay. All right, so maybe it's not so out of alignment with,
Yeah.
like, I can't even remember a lot of Course in Miracles. I did the lessons. I did the lessons, and I really struggled with the concepts.
yeah. Well,
Well, at the moment, I'm sorry, Kevin.
I say lesson four brings up the first thing that talks about good thoughts and bad thoughts being the same.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Lesson four.
yeah.
Which one's that? What's that called again?
These thoughts do not mean anything.
Oh,
There you go. These thoughts are not meaning anything.
well, true. It does. Yeah, it does.
Yeah. And they're brilliant. Like, I mean, Course in Miracles is exquisite. I'm really enjoying this URANTIA book, but also when I listen to people who've been following this book for a long time, I can see that mind training of Course in Miracles just gives you something else. It gives you this
Yeah,
extra little something where you're just not so attached to this what you think is true. That every thought you think even if it has a good intention, like a Course in Miracles says, just be careful with your good intentions, because if you separate from your heart, your good intentions are as good as your separated mind is. But anyway, this is philosophical discussion. Let's dive
mm.
into the reading, hey?
Yeah. Let's do that. Mm.
So who would like to begin? I'll read.
I feel like
I'll
being
read.
tongue.
If you can
Right.
bear with me. At least this time, I'm not going to have three people telling me three people correcting me at the same time. So
It can only be two today, Cole.
please correct me anytime. I really appreciate it. Actually, it's a blessing that.
I try not to correct if
No,
it
no,
really hasn't changed the meaning, but if it
please,
does change the meaning,
no,
I
please correct
correct.
me every time. It's good
Okay.
because I like it to be what's written in here.
I think with what you with your reading, Cole, I mean, I don't know if this is helpful, but
Yeah, tell me.
sometimes like you add in an extra word because you're not just focused on reading the words that are there, so you might add in the or
Hmm.
as, or like
Yes.
a small thing, which
Mm.
often doesn't really change it, but it can change
Mm. Yep,
the subtleties of it.
absolutely. I'm absolutely
So
for the precision. You were like a Course in Miracles, just the sentences are so
Yes.
precise, and they take you. That's what I love. And this takes me. This is what I love about this book. I'm
Mm.
actually not reading these to memorize, so I know which paper is what in. This moves me. This, like it says, universe is a non-static. And some of the universe in us is very static. It's very locked in. And so I
Mm.
love to be corrected. And I also know that I'm slightly dyslexic. Always was. I have that with guitar and music. Like I virtually
Yeah.
can't play one piece without making some kind of mistake. Just
Yeah.
simply can't. It's just how it is.
Well, it's incredible if you have some dyslexia. It's incredible that you've been so involved in translations and, working with words. That's amazing, Cole.
Yeah, because I have full acceptance of the fact that I am fucked up.
And it does get corrected, so, like one
It
way or
gets
another.
corrected, and then that's why I've got you guys who are so, perfect in this sense, and I love it. So it's never
The
a.
word
Sometimes
Nazis.
I think when it's like four people suddenly say at the same time, it's like, no, it's this, and it's like, whoa. It's almost like it shoots at me. But one person correcting would be lovely. I love that. Um, so let's go for it. Universal over control. The universe is non-static. Stability is not the result of inertia, but rather the product of balanced energies, cooperative minds, coordinated moronchans, spiritual spirit over control, and a personality unification. Stability is wholly and always proportional to divinity. In the
Mm.
physical control of the master universe, the universal father exercises priority and primacy through Isle of Paradise. Oh my God. God is absolute in the spiritual administration of the cosmos in a person of the eternal Son, who
Oh, Cole. Oh dear. I was miles away. You just brought me back.
I love it. Uh, eternal what?
Son,
Yes.
the eternal son.
Yeah, beautiful. I love where that takes you, Alison.
I like it too. It's a bit embarrassing sometimes, but
It is.
I'll be embarrassed.
Yes, it is. And when I was in the academy and had my first awakening, I said, it was so embarrassing when I saw where I was going and what my plan for salvation was. I was so embarrassed within myself that I was so wrong, that I was going like God is over there and I was going that way. I was
It's all
virtually
right,
going.
Cole. We all thought that way. Most of us.
Anyway, and when I discovered it, the amount of embarrassment, and eventually I kept saying, get used to being deeply embarrassed. Allow yourself to be embarrassed because there's a lot of it coming, you know. But also, Alison, and this is particularly for women, when women go into their deep feminine essence, it is very shy.
Okay. All right. Oh, well,
It's a very
wow.
shy place.
Right.
Actually, in Indian mythologies, if you when you see some of the pictures of the feminine, they they always look at you from the side. They have this they're in this sort of like their eyes are like wing, and they can't look straight at you because it's too much. That
Mm.
opening is too much. Don't you find that? It's like,
Yeah, that is how I feel. That it sort of puts, yeah, you put your finger on it. It's
yes, it takes you to
yeah.
your feminine essence actually, and your
And
feminine
it
essence.
actually requires a little bit of protection from
Yes,
dominating energies.
yes, yes,
Well, that's what it feels like.
yeah, including your own mind, which is dominating.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So the patriarchal actually lives in a lot of women's head. That's what the patriarchal is. And then they
yeah.
project it out and see it everywhere. As well as there is this predominant masculine because the feeling is uh, so denied on this planet in general.
Mm. Yeah,
Most people's feelings are just thoughts. When I ask people how they feel, they talk. Yeah.
yeah.
And feelings don't talk, right? So I go on. Concerning the domains of mind, the Father and the Son function coordinately in the conjoined actor. Oh God, I love that. Mhm. The third source and center assists in the maintenance of the equilibrium and coordination of the combined physical and spiritual energies and organizations of the absolute
By
of the absolute.
by by
Ah,
the
yeah.
absolute.
Oh, I see. Gosh, amazing, huh?
Yeah,
Thank you. And
that's right.
organization by the absoluteness of this grasp of the cosmic mind. See, grasp of his grasp. Hang on, absolutely of his grasp of the cosmic mind, and by the exercise of his inherent and universal physical and spiritual gravity complements. It would be like more like that embrace, wouldn't it be? Grasp. I would use embrace, but hey,
Grasp of the cosmic mind.
yeah. Whenever and wherever there occurs a liaison between the material and the spiritual, such a mind phenomenon is an act of the infinite spirit. Beautiful. Mind alone can intersociate,
Interassociate.
thank you, the physical forces and energies of the material level with the spiritual powers and beings of the spirit level. In all your contemplation of universal phenomena, make certain that you take into consideration the interrelation of physical, intellectual, and spiritual energies, and that due allowance is made for the unexpected phenomena attendant
Atten- Attendant.
upon the unification of personality.
By
Yes, by personality and for the unpredictable phenomena resulting from the actions and reactions of the experiential deity and the absolutes. Mm.
of experiential deity. You said of the experiential.
I see. That's good. See,
Yeah,
I love being
it
correct.
popped in an extra word there. I mean, you do it fairly frequently. So sometimes I get it, but I just leave it.
Irritated, right?
I just let it go, you know.
Oh, thanks.
Essentially it's pretty good.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? The universe is highly predictable only in the quantitative or gravity measurement sense. Even the primal forces, physical forces, are not responsive to linear gravity, nor are the higher mind meanings and true spirit values of ultimate universe realities. Qualitatively, the universe is not highly predictable as regards new association of forces, either physical, mental, or spiritual, although many such combinations of energies or forces become partially predictable when subjected to critical observation. Aha. When matter, mind, and spirit are unified by creature personality, we're unable fully to predict the decisions of such a free will being. Mm. All phases of primordial force.
I don't know that word.
I don't know it either.
I'd
Do you
say
know it,
nascent.
Kevin?
Well, I'd say nascent, but I don't know what it means.
Yeah, nascent.
I'll look it up because I have it straight here. Objective, especially of a process or organization just coming into existence and beginning to display signs of future potential.
Oh, almost like in ascent
Mm-hmm. I
or
see.
pre. Or, mm.
So, nascent spirit and other non-personal ultimates appear to react in accordance with certain relativity, stable but unknown laws.
Relatively stable.
Jesus Christ. With certain relatively stable but unknown laws and are characterized by a latitude of performance and an elasticity of response which are often disconcerting when encountered in a phenomena of circumscribed and associated situation. Isolated,
Isolated. Yeah.
thank you, isolated situation. I do have a better days of reading, but now I feel
It's
good.
fine.
I feel good
It's
because
fine.
I go like, oh my God, I can see how much I'm actually
Oh,
uh,
there are days when there's a lot less.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes I read, and then when I run into a few misunderstood words, I get like my mind remains back there where the word was, and some of me,
Mm.
part of me still's trying to work it out,
Yeah.
and then I lose presence, I think.
Yeah. I'm really struggling to actually get the meaning of what, like I can't sort of connect with it today.
That's all
That's right.
right.
It'll change.
Mm-hmm. See, for me, often I read this and I get this inner movement. Like it, you know how it says it's not static, it's moving. And so what this does for me, it begins to move things with me. So I don't really care that I go like, ooh, where does this fit? Like I'm not trying to do that. Because
I
my
think it's partly though, like I really am requiring slower and slower speeds to actually take
That's
things
true.
in.
Same
And
here.
it's fine. It's fine you're reading it at this, but I'll at this speed, but I will go back and read it in my own time, and it'll probably take me several hours to
I'm
read it
very
all
happy to
again.
slow down too, you know.
Okay.
Just tell me. I'm
Okay.
pliable.
A little slow would be nice for me.
On it. Now I lost my place. Thank you.
Isolated situation.
Oh, yeah. What is the explanation of this unpredictable freedom of reaction disclosed by these emerging universes' actualities? These unknown, unfathomable, unpredictables, whether pertaining to the behavior of a primordial unit of force, the reaction of an unidentified level of mind, or the phenomenon of a vast pre-universe. Wow. Is the making in the domains of outer space. Probably disclose the activities of the ultimate and the present performances, as if one word, of the absolute, which
Antedate.
antedate the function of all universe creators. Wow. And here they come. We don't really know. I love when they say that.
Mm.
Interesting thing would be if they don't really know, how do they know what they think they know is correct if they can't see the whole picture, isn't it? How many times we knew something and then it's changed and we realize it wasn't exactly true?
Mm.
Like most of the awakenings always are. Like even awakenings that happen before somehow were just a stepping stone to something. We do not really know, but we surmise that such amazing versatility and such profound coordination signified the presence and the performance of the absolute, and that such diversity of response in the face of apparently uniform causation discloses the reaction of the absolutes not only to immediate, to not only to the immediate and situation, because situational Jesus Christ, help me now.
You're catching it though, Cole. Good on you.
Yeah. I'm really not being very careful. Not only to the immediate and situational causation, but also to all other related causations through the entire master,
Throughout.
throughout the entire master universe.
Mm.
All
Yeah, I'm
right,
not
I
getting
might
any of
need
the
to take
things
a little
today.
break.
Okay, I'll read. I might get more meaning as I read
Thank you,
today,
darling.
I think.
Sweet ass.
Individuals have their guardians of destiny.
Hmm.
Planets, systems, constellations, universes, and super universes each have their respective rulers who labor for the good of their domains. Havona and even the grand universe are watched over by those entrusted with such high responsibilities. But who fosters and cares for the fundamental needs of the master universe as a whole, from paradise to the fourth and outermost space level? Essentially, such overcare is probably attributable to the Paradise Trinity, but from an experiential viewpoint, the appearance of the post-Havona universes is dependent on 1, the absolutes in potential, 2, the ultimate in direction, 3, the supreme in evolutionary coordination, 4, the architects of the master universe in administration prior to the appearance of specific rulers. The unqualified absolute pervades all space. We are not altogether clear as to the exact status of the deity and universal absolutes, but we know the latter functions wherever the deity and unqualified absolutes function. The deity absolute may be universally present, but hardly space present. I have no idea. Okay.
That's all right.
It's almost like just reading a dictionary of medical terms or something, yeah.
You know, there are times where it's just really not that easy to grasp,
Yeah.
and sometimes we think we're grasping it, and we could be completely delusional. But no matter what, somehow it still affects something in me.
Okay.
And I'm tuning more to that unknown awakening to known rather than trying to grasp it and also judge it that I'm not getting it. Because on
Yeah.
some deep level,
There's something else going on.
yeah, for me, this is super personal because I really do see it as a micro and macro. You know, like whatever's out there comes from within and vice versa somehow, like it's all connected.
Mm.
Like God is sum of all things, everything that
Yeah.
ever existence and is, and even those things we can't see. So, you know, there will be sections that are going to be completely weird to us, but hey, this is such a
Well, I just
profound
remember
material, you know?
the other day I was reading something and trying to get what it was saying, and then suddenly I had that experience that was nothing to do with anything that was being written right there.
Hmm.
It's like it just snuck in when it could,
You
when I
don't know
was
how this is
unguarded.
working on your mind, how this is
That's right. Yeah.
dislodging the
I
structures
just find
and
it frustrating for my mind not to be doing what I
yes,
think is its job today, but that's okay. I can
yes,
just continue reading.
thank you.
Uh, the ultimate is, or sometime will be, space present to the outer margins of the fourth space level. We doubt that the ultimate will ever have a space presence beyond the periphery of the master universe. But within this limit, the ultimate is progressively integrating the creative organization of the potentials of the three absolutes.
Mhm.
I'll start this. 7. The part and the whole. There is operative throughout all time and space, and with regard to all reality of whatever nature, an inexorable and impersonal law, which is equivalent to the function of a cosmic providence. Mercy characterizes God's attitude of love for the individual. Impartiality motivates God's attitude toward the total. The will of God does not necessarily prevail in the heart of any one personality, but his will does actually rule the whole, the universe of universes. In all his dealings with all his beings, it is true that the laws of God are not inherently arbitrary. To you, with your limited vision and finite viewpoint, the acts of God must often appear to be dictatorial and arbitrary. The laws of God are merely the habits of God, his way of repeatedly doing things, and he ever does all things well. You observe that God does the same thing in the same way, repeatedly, simply because that is the best way to do that particular thing in a given circumstance. And the best way is the right way, and therefore does infinite wisdom always order it done in that precise and perfect manner. You should also remember that nature is not the exclusive act of deity.
Mm-hmm.
Other influences are present in those phenomena which man calls nature.
Mm-hmm. So a lot of these things will be explained later.
This is all like, I realize I've got a lot of confusion over, after our talk earlier, between about the whole ideas of good and evil and
Mm-hmm.
how it all works. I've got a lot of confusion there still. Like I've looked at it and looked at it and looked at it. Now this is just,
Adding to it.
like uh, if there's truth and nothing but truth actually exists, then how can there be other, I start asking questions. I have, like, I guess, a very convoluted mind. Hmm.
Mm.
It is repugnant to the divine nature to suffer any sort of deterioration or ever to permit the execution of any purely personal act in an inferior way. It should be made clear, however, that if in the divinity of any situation, in the extremity of any circumstance, in any case where the course of supreme wisdom might indicate the demand for different conduct, if the demands of perfection might for any reason dictate another method of reaction, a better one, then and there would the all-wise God function in that better and more suitable way. That would be the expression of a higher law, not the reversal of a lower law. Hmm. God is not a habit-bound slave to the chronicity. Chronicity.
I can look it up.
I think of chronicle, like
Hmm.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too, Alison. Chronicle. Yeah.
mm.
Of an illness, in brackets, persisting for a long time or constantly recurring.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
chronic. Yeah.
Chronic. God is not a habit-bound slave to the chronicity of the repetition of his own voluntary acts. There is no conflict among the laws of the infinite. They are all perfections
The infallible
of
nature.
the infallible nature. They are all the unquestioned acts expressive of faultless decisions. Law is the unchanging reaction of an infinite, perfect, and divine mind.
Mhm.
The acts of God are all volitional, notwithstanding this apparent sameness. In God there is no variableness, neither shadow of changing. But all this, which can be truly said of the Universal Father, cannot be said with equal certainty of all his subordinate intelligences or of his evolutionary creatures.
Mhm.
Because God is changeless, therefore can you depend in all ordinary circumstances on his doing the same thing in the same identical and ordinary way. God is the assurance of stability for all created things and beings. He is God, therefore he changes not. And all his steadfastness of conduct and uniformity of action is personal, conscious, and highly volitional, for the great God is not a helpless slave to his own perfection and infinity.
Mhm.
God is not a self-acting automatic force. He is not a slavish, law-bound power. God is neither a mathematical equation nor a chemical formula. Interesting.
I love that.
It's a nice, like it's bringing the whole idea, like some people have science as being God, and
Hmm.
it's not.
Hmm.
Nor a chemical formula. He is a free will and primal personality. He is the universal Father, a being surcharged with personality, surcharged with personality, and the universal fount of all creature personality.
Beautiful.
The will of God does not uniformly prevail in the heart of the God-seeking material mortal. But if the time frame is enlarged beyond the moment to embrace the whole of the first life, then does God's will become increasingly discernible in the spirit fruits which are born in the lives of the spirit-led children of God. Is that sort of saying you can't can't see it moment to moment, but over a lifetime you'd see the change? Okay.
Mm. Yeah, it's so different too. I mean, when they in a course they call it the unspeakable love is the essence of it. And the perception doesn't really fit into that well.
Mm,
It's like,
yeah.
we think God is an English speaking sort of thing that tells you things, or it's not like, you know, just like Jesus said it. He says, my kingdom is not of this world. Hello. And everything that is of this world cannot possibly even, it can maybe reflected in some way, in goodness and heartfelt uh, communication, but it's so different. I mean, I'm sure Alison had some, Kevin too, had some revelations or something just hits you and you just go like, wow, this is so big.
Mm.
And
Mm.
I don't think with this mind that we use a lot, it can encompass this vastness this is just pointing to, really.
Mm. I'll carry on. And then, if human life is further enlarged to include the Morontia experience,
Hmm.
the divine will is observed to shine brighter and brighter
Bingo.
in the spiritualizing acts of those creatures of time who have begun to taste the divine delights of experiencing the
Wow.
relationship of the personality of man with the personality of the Universal Father.
Yes, that's so beautiful. That is so beautiful.
The
The
fatherhood,
taste of divine delights of experiencing the relationship of the personality. Wow, it's beautifully put, isn't it?
the fatherhood of God and the brotherhood of man present the paradox of the part and the whole on the level of personality. God loves each individual as an individual child in the heavenly family.
Wow.
Yet, God thus loves every individual. He is no respecter of persons, and the universality of his love brings into being a relationship of the whole, the universal brotherhood.
Beautiful.
The love of the Father absolutely individualizes each personality as a unique child of the Universal Father, a child without duplicate in infinity,
Hmm.
a will creature irreplaceable in all eternity.
Eternity. See, you're so unique, huh?
Mm. Mm.
This is much easier now. Can you feel the difference?
Yeah,
Like it gives you this massive sort of hard to crack
yeah,
data, and next minute he's completely, and you can feel almost the loving embrace
yeah,
of the Father's presence.
yeah. I think I find it easier when I'm reading too, a lot of the time when I'm. So
Hmm.
anyway, if you want to read at any point, Kevin, just say, but I'm going to carry
Oh,
on.
I'm good. You keep going.
Mm. The Father's love glorifies each child of God, illuminating each member of the celestial family sharply silhouetting the unique nature of each personal being against the impersonal levels that lie outside the fraternal circuit of the Father of all. The love of God strikingly portrays the transcendent value the love of God strikingly portrays the transcendent value of each will creature, unmistakably reveals the high value which the Universal Father has placed upon each and every one of his children, from the highest creator personality of paradise status to the lowest personality of will dignity among the savage tribes of men in the dawn of the human species on some evolutionary world of time and space. This very love of God for the individual brings into being the divine family of all individuals, the universal brotherhood of the free will children of the Paradise Father. And this brotherhood, being universal, is a relationship of the whole.
I love this, huh?
Yeah. This brotherhood being universal is a relationship of the whole. Brotherhood, when universal, discloses not the each relationship, but the all relationship. That's like when he's talking about the common denominator, the self as common denominator. It's the same thing, isn't it? Brotherhood is a reality of the total and therefore discloses qualities of the whole in contradistinction to qualities of the part. Brotherhood constitutes a fact of relationship between every personality in universal existence. No person can escape the benefits or the penalties that may come as a result of relationship to other persons. The part profits or suffers in measures with the whole. The good effort of each man benefits all men. The error or evil of each man augments the tribulation of all men.
Wow, that's pretty radical, isn't it? Whoa.
As moves the part, so moves the whole. As the progress of the whole, so as the progress of the whole, so the progress of the part. These of part and whole determine whether the part is retarded by the inertia of the whole or is carried forward by the momentum of the cosmic brotherhood.
Brotherhood, isn't that beautiful?
The momentum of the cosmic brotherhood. I mean, this has been spoken of a lot by people,
Of course.
that there's so much movement going on.
Mm.
Um, yeah. It is a mystery that God is a highly personal, self-conscious being with residential headquarters and at the same time personally present in such a vast universe and personally in contact with such a well-nigh infinite number of beings. That such a phenomenon is a mystery beyond human comprehension should not in the least lessen your faith. Do not allow the magnitude of the infinity, the immensity of the eternity, and the grandeur and glory of the matchless character of God to overawe, stagger, or discourage you. For the Father is not very far from any one of you. He dwells within you, and in him do we all literally move, actually live, and veritably have our being.
Beautiful, huh?
Mm. Even though the Paradise Father functions through his divine creators and his creature children, he also enjoys the most intimate inner contact with you,
Wow.
so sublime, so highly personal that it is even beyond my comprehension.
Wow. There you go.
That, that mysterious communion of the Father fragment with the human soul and with the mortal mind of its actual indwelling. Knowing what you do of these gifts of God, you therefore know that the Father is in intimate touch, not only with his divine associates, but also with his evolutionary mortal children of time. The Father indeed abides on paradise, but his divine presence also dwells in the minds of men. Even though the spirit of a son, even though the spirit of a son be poured out upon all flesh, the spirit of a son be poured out upon all flesh, even though a son once dwelt with you in the likeness of mortal flesh, even though the seraphim personally guard and guide you. How can any of these divine beings of the second and third centers ever hope to come as near to you or to understand you as fully as the Father,
Mm.
who has given a part of himself to be in you, to be your real and divine, even your eternal self?
Beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
I think this is
Well,
about
that
it.
was as absolutely beautiful, divine, and wonderful as the previous one was
It's hard, isn't it?
incomprehensible.
Yeah. But
Oh,
he has to give you a little break somewhere so you go like, oh my God, I just don't want to be lost in this unknown.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah. Makes it so
Oh,
personal then, you know?
yeah.
Mm. Yeah, it's quite different, isn't it?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel very grateful to have been able to read that. Oh, it brought me back into, oh yes, I can do
Yes.
this. I can connect with it.
Well, I'm uploading A Course in Miracles at the moment, so I listen to it a lot, and I have such profound, like, oh my God, just hearing it just on a completely new level.
Yeah.
It's just so beautiful, so exquisite.
Mm.
Just like this, constantly reminding you. It's just a reminder. Like you're not just this tiny little thing that lives in here between your ears. There's so much more to you.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
an
Yeah.
exquisite being, each of us. It's got this amazing capacity to open up these centers within ourselves with which we can perceive so much more of what really is available.
Yeah.
And it's
You
not.
know, like I'm constantly amazed at how hand in hand this is with the section we're reading in A Course of Love at the time.
Yes,
It's absolutely hand in hand
it
with
absolutely is.
with the last three days that we just read. Absolutely.
Mhm. Very true. Mm. Don't think I can read anymore.
Mm.
No, it's nearly, yeah, we've had a good session.
Yeah, we always have a good session. I love these sessions. I'm so looking forward to it. I'm going, oh, Thursday. Woo!
Yeah, I tell you, the gap between Sunday and Thursday sometimes feels very large to
Too
me.
long, isn't
I
it?
mean, it's not like I've got nothing else to do, and I always do my reading and stuff, but it's really lovely to check in with people.
Yeah, so beautiful. We do meet on Tuesdays, but we do write you so well, so
Yeah, and I like, it's not that I haven't had value from it, but I have
that's
to be
okay.
really careful. I tend to spread myself too thin over all kinds of things, and
Oh,
like what I've got is enough. If we were
mhm.
doing another Urantia read, I'd probably do it on a Tuesday. But
I know.
yeah,
Oh,
but
well.
it's good. It's beautiful. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, guys. Thanks for joining
You
in.
don't feel off, Kevin, not having read anything?
No, no, no. Well, actually, I liked it today because number 7 was a lot better than all the previous stuff I've been reading, all about the
Mm.
universes
Yeah,
and what fits in
Well,
where.
it started pretty intense, though. It started tough. We were sitting here going, oh my God, what the hell is this now?
yeah,
I think for me, it was like it sort of didn't really matter. I didn't really care about the structure of how everything, fits in the universe. It's like it's sort of irrelevant to the
yeah,
experience. Where this last one we just read was more about, I felt like was more
Hmm.
about the experience, like,
yeah.
Yeah.
mm,
Yeah, I feel very similar. It's like, well, why are you telling me all this stuff? I don't want to know. It's like this is just it feels very irrelevant. And yet I know, like there's a reason for it.
mm,
Eventually, even that other stuff will get to you because you will know where to place it. But
Yeah,
I think it
yeah,
takes some filling in to do. There are sections that will elaborate it deeper, and then you will have
yeah,
an understanding. I keep hearing from people who've been doing this for many years, up to 50 years, some of them. And when they say, they say, but the constant repetition of it does fill in the gaps.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
I think for me, it's got something to do with that. When you do like A Course in Miracles or any other book, whatever you want to call it, you develop ideas and concepts and you think this is how it is. And when you get something different,
mhm,
it fucks with your head.
yeah,
And it's like, I generally, because I see people that can't do A Course of Love because, well, A Course of Miracles are right, therefore, A Course of Love must be wrong. But I think that's a mistake, and that you just got to let it somehow, let put one aside and listen to the other one like that's the truth. Like that would say that
yeah,
that's the first book you would have read and you believe totally,
yeah.
not necessarily the other one, and it's hard to
But he
do.
also says in Course in Miracles, eventually you're going to have to let this teaching go too,
mhm,
doesn't
Oh,
he?
yeah.
But, the thing I realized I got caught up on earlier was Teddy, he said it a lot. Truth is true and nothing else is true. I go, oh yeah. Well, so therefore, if the good of God is true, then evil, or what we've thought of as evil, is not even real. I
Yeah,
mean, he says that evil is not real,
yeah,
and yet it's addressed. as if it is. And that's where I get caught in it being addressed as if it is.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's
Look,
just me.
let me just read that part out in lesson 4. It says, like, do not be afraid to use good thoughts as well as bad. None of them represents your real
Real
thoughts,
thought. Bingo.
which are being covered up by them. The good ones are but shadows of what lies beyond, and shadows make sight difficult. The bad
Right.
ones are blocks to sight and make seeing impossible. You do not want either.
Yeah.
So he's basically saying you're bloody medically blind.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's blocks in front of you, and where you can see something, it's only a shadow. Oh my God. And that's what, wasn't it Plato or someone who had that thing about the cave, being in the cave, and all you can see is shadows on the wall?
Yeah.
Well, Course in Miracles clearly says it's a mind training. So it trains your mind to another way of seeing. It
Yeah.
definitely awakens the vision and to feel the difference between looking with these eyes and actually using the
Yeah.
vision is,
Yeah.
one or the other. Like
It's
you
a
can't have
funny,
both.
it's a funny thing with Course in Miracles. Like I did it for a few years. I've reached a point where every time I've made a determination, yeah, I'm going to go back and do the lessons again. I can't. I actually can't. I do one lesson. It might be wonderful, and I can't do any more. Like,
Mhm.
yeah. So it is good. I do dip into it from time to time because I do, and I still have lessons that really
Mm.
speak to me that I still use, and but it's not something I can do as a practice anymore, as a daily thing. I've got enough
Well,
apart from anything else.
once your mind is trained, I mean, the course says it. Like once your mind is trained,
I
what's
don't I don't know how well my mind is trained, to be honest,
it
but
does get
I guess
trained.
it's partially.
Look, I translated the whole book and really worked on every sentence until I put it into another language. Can you imagine?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like you get more and more and more. I mean, like just as I said, I've been now doing course since '89, whatever time that is. It's a long time ago. And I didn't just
30.
read it sporadically. I was like fully devoted, like 24/7 for years.
Right. Wow.
In the academy and so on. And oh my God, I I still am very blown away by it. But it does move more of this realm, that particularly even when this expands and then expands and then expands. This is so vast where the mind can go. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Course of Love came and opened up this same thing in the heart center where there was a bit more heart and then a bit more heart. And then it was just this mind blowing vastness and
Mm.
virtually like a form of eyes, like eyes that open up and hears that hear differently. You can say a
Yeah.
sentence and the heart hears your heart instead of your mind. Like it's so profound, what happens.
Course, I mean,
And the
course
same
of
thing
us.
happened to me through the
Yeah.
will. Like will open up.
Mm.
First, I could feel more, then I could feel way more. And then it opened into this divine realm of feeling, which is the will. And that is almost, those moments are more rare than my opening is easy. Heart opening is easy. The will opening is not so easy. But the divine mother experience, the feminine light, you know, it's on such just like a Urantia says, too deep for words. If you can speak, if you can even talk while it's happening, you can't actually. Like perception does not fit into that. Like you either thinking or you feeling. And when you're truly feeling, there is no way you can think. That's why those profound spiritual or what do they call it, a religious experience happen. They're so mind blowing. They virtually blow the mind into smithereens. Mind,
You know that thing with Saul becoming Paul through being blasted.
yes.
Apparently apparently it took him 7 years before he was able to come
Who is
fully
this?
and start speaking. Saul and Saul who became Paul in the
Yes.
Bible.
Yeah.
He had that experience of light,
Oh,
and it actually physically blinded him.
yep.
It physically blinded him, but apparently, I mean, I was listening to Joel Goldsmith one day, and Joel, like he did so much extensive study of all this stuff. He said it took him 7 years to fully get what was being shown him and to be able to speak about it and
Mhm. Yes. And
start
then it
teaching
comes an
it.
integration time. Like um, first awakening was like, wow. And then it just took so long to just to be comfortable in it.
Everything has to reshuffle.
Yes. Yes. You're kind of integrated and
Yeah,
you practice it with people. And so with some people, like with some people, we drop in so easily. With some people, it's a bit of work, you know. With some people, it's like that realm does not exist. There's no communication. We go blah blah blah, and we are happy that we can even talk to each other.
yeah,
Uh, you know, some people have open certain centers in themselves. When you walk into their realm, you just immediately feel the comfort of it.
yeah,
I feel like that with a lot of brothers that were in the academy. There is a certain level of knowing of something that it's just not somewhere else. It's just not there. Like those centers are not vibrating yet. And I
yeah.
can see that there is the potential of them vibrating, but they just not. They just not
There's
vibrate.
interesting thing, like I've talked about this before about how I can sometimes when I'm in a deep state of like doing the meditative contemplative stuff or whatever, I can actually reach out and tune into particular personalities. And I always felt like that was the key to healing. I think I might have been um, led in that direction by Joel's teachings, but
Mm-hmm.
I did that with my mum multiple times, and she just didn't want it.
Mm-hmm.
Is what it had to
Yeah,
come to. She didn't want it,
beautiful. And that's
and
like I have total acceptance. Like it comes a time where you
yeah,
just go like, wow, this is like not for everyone.
the connection was there. I could make that connection. I could feel her. It was really beautiful, like her essence, and
Mm.
yet nothing ever changed.
Yeah,
And I was hoping for change, like anyway, so I probably misunderstanding there on my part, but
yeah,
interesting. Maybe I also wonder if just maybe there was something missing, something that I've missed. But
yeah, yeah. I have this connection with my son at the moment, who's 16. He doesn't realize we're having spiritual experiences because he does not have a concept of it. But
yeah,
music, we have these connections that are like very unusual connections. We just
yeah,
harmonize in some way, and it just brings this joy in him that I see with people who've been doing Course in Miracles for a long time.
yeah.
But to explain it
Yeah,
to him in any way is just no point.
yeah,
It
well,
would
he wouldn't
not,
even think of it, because it would
People
be normal. It'd be quite
people
normal to him.
express in different ways.
yeah.
And I'm struck when I see my father's photographs because I've got all his photos here, and he was a superb photographer. He was
Oh, mine.
not as he was not as was he?
Yeah, he was a fully. I've got hundreds of photos from childhood.
Yeah.
He was actually one of the first people who make a color picture in Slovakia.
Right. Wow. Well, the thing for me is he was not what I'd call a spiritual person, but he was deeply
Hmm.
what's the word? Sensitive.
Hmm.
And that sensitivity comes through in those photos. Some of those photos, they're masterpieces. I consider them masterpieces of portraits and stuff like that. Just
Hmm.
like he had something
Yeah,
really incredible. And yet he was a simple guy with,
yeah,
he was on the spectrum. Um, and he had no spiritual ideas would have irritated him. Um,
yeah. Same with my
you
mom.
know.
My mom was
And
like
but he
that
was
too.
also a superb saxophonist, very highly respected in the jazz community, highly respected,
Yeah,
you know, just very creative and just like far out. But
yeah,
always thought my mum was the spiritual one.
yeah.
I mean, you know, not that she wasn't, but
We all have
it
this
just shows
kind of
itself in
amazing
different
talent.
ways.
We all have these different talents, and we if we can share them. You know, sharing the talents
Yeah,
and really seeing that we are all equal. That somebody has a different talent, and if we can find what that is, like I even
yeah,
keep saying, like um, actually, I think Picasso said it. I think he said, like the purpose of life is to actually the meaning. Was it the meaning of life is to find your talents, and the purpose is to give it. Once you find your talent, find an avenue of expression of that talent.
right.
How do you get it across? How do you?
Open out a way for the imprisoned splendor to escape. That's what Joel talked about all the time.
Yes,
It's
yeah,
a from a poem by
yeah,
one.
yeah.
Open out
So
a way.
so
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
yeah, I often find what I find fascinating is like how different people who had these profound experiences, how they get it across. Like that's why I like to listen to some of the guys that I listen to, because like, how do you get this experience that's so profound that the words cannot cover it? Just like we just read, like it's how can you put that into? How can you get it across?
Yeah, we
I
have to
find it
find it
hard.
and let it
Yeah,
escape. Let it escape the way it wants
yeah.
to.
Sometimes I
And
say things
we've
even to you
we've been
guys.
sat in school and told, no,
Mhm.
you have to sit here and look straight ahead and listen to what I'm saying, whether it interests you or not, and you're
Right,
not allowed to express yourself. You know, and here we are. Here
exactly.
we are, find our way.
Yeah, and sometimes I have these moments. I'm like, "Oh my God, this is so profound," and then I speak about it, and it's like it just no response. People go, "Uh huh," and I just go back to reading, and go like, "Wow, I just could not get that across." And I guess these are all just our momentary attempts to get across something that's so far beyond, and we're just tadpoles. Like according to this book, we're just this emergent worlds, this real
Yeah,
low
yeah.
level humans, whatever. They
I'm happy with that because it explains a lot.
it does. It does.
I'm happy with that. I would be really concerned if we were highly evolved beings, I can tell you.
We think we are.
Oh.
At least when you can laugh about it, when you just can't take like I would not want to have a spiritual argument. It would just bore me to tears. Anyway, I gotta get moving. I got a few things happening this today.
Yeah.
So
All right. Well, it's lovely to see you guys.
lovely
And
to catch up with you. Catch you soon.
Yeah. See
yeah,
you on Saturday.
see you later. Bye.
Saturday.